All right, as promised, this is part two to my first time being homeless ever. So I check as soon as I ended the video, I check my battery power. I'm at 80%, which is good. But since I still have like basically the whole day, I'm going to try. Like I said, I was at the shelter for 2 years. So if I can try to squeeze 2 years into two parts, like into 2 hours, I'm going to try to do that. So I'm going to try to like right away, get into it right away. So I don't run out of power too quickly. Because after this, after I upload everything, I still want to like, my, do my usual, like listen to music, like browse on YouTube, whatever. And I want to have that battery power like last until I charge my phone later today. Anyways, let me get into it, because I know how I can talk. Where did I leave off? So that was my first night. That's how my first night went. Now during the day, with this specific shelter, it is a really big shelter. They are one of the shelters that they don't force you to, they don't kick you out in the morning. Some shelters, they do that at a certain time in the morning, and I'm talking about, and I've been to those shelters, they kick you out like pretty early. It could be like, I think the earliest I've ever been kicked out of a shelter was like 5 o'clock in the morning. And not just me, like, everybody. That's just how it works. And you have to stay out the whole day, literally the whole day. You can't come back until evening. I have been in shelters like that. This shelter, like, thankfully my first shelter, they didn't do that, because I'm already like struggling to like just adapt as much as I can to this, and it would be even more jarring if I just have to, be kicked out early in the morning, like, oh, like what's going on, like, why do I have to leave, like, where am I gonna go, stuff like that. So they didn't do that to us. You could stay in the day room. It was what they call it. It was like, another big area. And then the day room, by the way, let me go back. Sorry. I'm just skipping ahead too much. When you get up in the morning, you do have to get up in the morning. Everybody, the lights turn on automatically in the dorm. You're woken up. If the lights don't wake you up, the staff will wake you up. They'll say like, morning ladies, time to get up, blah, blah, blah. And then, they'll just remind you, because there's like a system to how this works. It's kind of like, it is organized. I'm not going to lie. It's like, it's an organized system and how, they run things. Nobody's just running around doing whatever. You can't take a shower in the morning. That's another thing. The only shower you can take is at night. Can't take a morning shower. Now, sometimes they do make exceptions. When I eventually started working security there, like, sometimes I would make exceptions for people if they had work to get to that morning. I would say, yeah, you go ahead and take a shower. Just like, just make it quick, because we do have to clear the dorm. If they had an accident, if anybody had an accident on themselves, of course, like, there's no debate. Like, of course I would let them take a shower. Like, who wants to walk around in their own mess for the whole day? And then we would take them down. There's a clothing closet in the basement. Take them down to get more clothes. So yeah. So I got up. I do what I'm supposed to do. Like, any shelter I've ever stayed at, regardless of what other people do, I've always done what I'm supposed to do, because gotta keep a roof over my head. So I have no other choice to. Like, people break rules all the time. I'm just not going to take that chance, because, staff, sometimes they play favorites. Like, at least in my opinion, like, they'll put some people out, and other people, like, they'll unfortunately let them stay. Like, that's just how it works. But I never took any chances. I always did what I was supposed to do, regardless of what everybody was doing around me. So when I had to get up, no matter how early it was, I got up. I got my behind up. I made my bed. I got dressed. Okay, got my stuff out of the hot box. That's the only clothes I had. Use the bathroom, blah, 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 that good stuff. And in the morning it's chaotic because, hundreds of women have to use there's only like a couple of stalls. There's only how many? I don't remember. How many stalls were there? I make weird faces when I'm thinking, but there I go again. How many stalls? Oh my gosh. What? I'm gonna say 5. It was a ridiculous amount of stalls. It was 5 stalls, I think even fewer sinks. It's a couple sinks, couple stalls. And hundreds of women, we all have to, use the bathroom, blah, blah, blah. So, it was just chaotic. And that's why it's good I might throw in some tips while I'm telling you story times. If you guys, let me throw in some tips while I'm doing these story times. Just in case you ever find yourself, God forbid, in the situation I was and still am. If you ever find yourself homeless, just going to give some tips out there while I'm telling this story time, just to kind of help you out. Hopefully it does help you out. Hopefully you never have to use them, but if you do, here you go. First tip I'm going to give. Get up early in the morning before everybody else. Whether you have to work or not, if you're not working, it doesn't matter. Get up early if you're staying at any shelter, because especially if they kick you out early in the morning, this is going to be your only chance to use the bathroom facilities in there. Do what you have to do early in the morning before anybody else gets up. I don't care if it's 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, get up 4 o'clock. I know that just sounds so crazy, and I'm not sure. I don't think I did that at first, because during intake they explain things to you, but I don't know what I did. I don't know my first morning there. I don't know how that went. I just know it was chaotic. Everything around me was chaotic, but I got through it. So my tip to you is, like I said, get up at least an hour early. Half an hour early, okay, 10 minutes, let's cut it real close, especially if your morning routine is anything like me, is if it's long-ish. That depends on you. Whatever time you want to get up, just get up before the lights come on, before the morning rush and everything, because you want to avoid the arguments, you want to avoid the fights, avoid all the chaos. You want to be standing by the door. You want to be ready at the time you're supposed to go down. So that's my first tip. There's plenty more to come. But anyways, so once that's done, once everybody, and while we're doing all of that, our pajamas, because that's their pajamas, also, you are not allowed to use your own pajamas. You also, I don't want to go back, but I kind of feel I'm not going to go back, but I just forgot to explain some things. There's just, like I said, there's a system to all of this, and I'm going to go back to that. I'm not right now. I'm just going to continue with the story. No, actually, I'm sorry. Just let me because it's all important just for you to understand what's going on. We can't use our own pajamas. They have pajamas. They're donations. They're nice, really nice pajamas. I love the pajamas there. I often wanted to keep the pajamas for myself. If I were to ever leave the mission, I wanted to just keep my own set of pajamas, because they were super cute PJs. Okay. But at the time, I didn't like wearing well, actually, I can't say I didn't like wearing other people's stuff, because I wore hand-me-downs all the time. I went to thrift stores all the time, so I can't say that. But at a shelter, it was just different. I was just, kind of weird about that, I guess. But pajamas were still cute. But you had to wear what they gave you. You had to use their linen and everything. And it was just about concern about bed bugs and everything. So I guess if you did bring your own pajamas, they went straight to the hot box. And even if they were clean, like after they were hot boxed and everything, like you still could use your own pajamas. So once you turn your linen and pajamas, they had like big plastic bags. People would hold them out and you would put it into there, or they set it on the ground. You just put everything in there, get changed into your clothes, get your stuff. Everybody lined up at the door at a certain time. Staff took everybody down. There was this door. It made like this super annoying. Every time you opened it, if you didn't you had to shut the alarm. I don't remember how it worked. I think you had to shut the alarm off first. Because if you just walked out that door, it just set off this like really high-pitched, annoying alarm. And people did it a lot. I think I did it sometimes too, but we went out the door and it always set off that alarm. We went downstairs for breakfast. Usually for breakfast, it's not like, oh, you had eggs and pancakes and waffles and blah, blah, blah. No, it's like pretty much the same thing. Like, we did have oatmeal like pretty much every morning. The oatmeal was really good, by the way. I'm not gonna lie, like the oatmeal was just like super good, in my opinion. Like, if you're hungry, like anything tastes good. But even to this day, I think that they made the oatmeal pretty good. It could be like kind of lumpy, but it was still decent. Sometimes you have like, they usually never made like scrambled eggs. It was always like hard-boiled eggs, and those were good too. That's my first time like eating hard-boiled eggs. I still love them to this day. That was my first introduction to hard-boiled eggs. 'Cause before that, I just ate like, scrambled. 'Cause that's how my eggs were made for me. So yeah, from that day forward, I fell in love with like scrambled and hard-boiled eggs. I still prefer scrambled, but but I like hard-boiled now too. So I would people had to tell me how to peel it, because I'm like, it's my first time eating it, so I didn't know what to do. But I cracked it, peeled it. It was like annoying because it was time consuming and I was hungry, and you had like a certain amount of time. Like, you can't just sit there and just like take your time. Like, you had to clear the cafeteria after a certain time. Like, everything was just like on a schedule, which was good, but I hate rushing. Like, they gave you enough time. I don't remember how much time they gave you, but they gave you a reasonable enough time to like finish your food. Me, I'm a slow eater. I like to just taste the food, savor it, digest it. I'm like one of those people. I still, to this day, I am. Like, years of being in shelters, like being on schedules, and not just shelters, but just in life, just being on schedules. Like, I don't know, like the world is moving 100 miles per hour. I always feel like I'm moving like at a snail's pace, because I just like to just be in the moment. I don't like to rush. Like, sometimes, I have to rush, especially if I'm behind, if I'm late. That's pretty much the only time. But, if you, like I said, get up early enough where you don't have to rush. If you have to get out that door by 6 o'clock, you start getting ready at 5:45. Yeah, you're gonna have to rush. But if you get up an hour before, no, like, you don't have to rush as much. But anyways, yeah. So we pretty much got the same thing for breakfast every morning, and it wasn't like French toast or anything. But the breakfast was, it was good. Like, I like the breakfast. But I was a vegetarian. At the time. Just to give you an idea of how long I've been a vegetarian. I still am a vegetarian, by the way. I've been a vegetarian for many, many years, well over a decade. But at the time, I was vegetarian. And I was not about to change that just because I was homeless. I was still, vegetarian. So, yeah. So, Where was I? So breakfast is done. I think I might skip past like all of that, because like I said, I wasn't an overnight guest for long, because there was only so much I could take of that. You know, when I was talking to my case manager, and you know, we would like talk about, I can't remember if we ever talked about housing. Maybe like during the intake they did like, you know, an assessment. I don't remember. I do remember her telling me about the program, what they called it, and I think they changed the name. It's called the New Day program. Well, back then, I don't know what it's called now. This was years ago. They changed it to the New Day program. I don't know what it's called now. It still might be called New Day. I still call it the Bible program. Back when I was first joined, it was called the Bible program. I don't know why they changed it to New Day. Like I said, I don't know what it is now. That shelter is still there, by the way. Still there. They still do upload their YouTube sermons and videos every Sunday or whatever. Because it's called, on my skin. It's called Saturday Night Praise and Testimony, if I remember. Anywho, I remember her telling me, the nice lady who did my intake when I first came, because, you know, this was back when I was like comfortable being in shelters during the day. Like, you know, after being in so many shelters and just dealing with a bunch of nonsense and craziness all the time, it gets to a point where, you know, you just don't want to be in there. You don't want to be in there any longer than you have to be. So even if they don't kick you out, I'm out the door. Like, see ya until like curfew or whatever. I'm out there doing like whatever, school or just library, hanging out or whatever. I'm just not at the shelter. But back then, my very first time, I didn't have anywhere else to go. Like, so I was just kind of, I wanted to stay there, but I didn't have anywhere else to go. And so did they provide bus passes? I don't remember. Maybe they did. Because usually the case managers, they will give you bus passes for work, school, or usually have to have a reason to request a bus pass, appointments, blah, blah, blah. So I don't remember if Pacific Guard Mission passed out bus passes. I don't think they did. Well, like I said, I don't remember. But, so, I stayed there. I stayed, like, in the day room. I was, like, watch TV, like, with everybody else. I was, like, watch the TV. And I was just, like, let me set this here. I was doing like everybody else is doing, like, just spending the day there, like, sitting down, just, like, because what else was I going to do? Like, I didn't have anything else to do. Let me take this off because it's not really chilly. But, so, yeah, I hope I don't knock this over. I'm just, like, watching TV. So let me skip ahead to whatever. Let me skip ahead to when I left the overnight guest area and eventually joined the program. Because we're going 20 minutes in. I said this would be, fit all this into an hour, and I've got like, what, 40 minutes? All right, 40 minutes, let's go. I'm not going to do this in 40 minutes. I got to use the bathroom too. We're going to get through this. I'm going to get through this. So let me skip ahead to, it's hard to focus when I have to pee. I have to pee really bad. I'm sorry, but I've already started, so I'm just going to see this through. So let me skip ahead to so my case manager, she talked to me about, I remember her talking to me about the Bible study program. Because I was telling them that, you know, I still want to finish my GED. That was like a priority for me. I didn't have anything else going on with my life. But finishing this GED was really important for me. So I was like, you know, I want to continue that. and like, is there any way I could continue my GED while I'm staying here? And they're like, oh yeah, like, as a matter of fact, we have a program, and you can do this, you can finish your GED, like you could do. They were telling me about the program basically, and I was like, oh, this sounds like so awesome. Like, where is it? Like, where do I go? Like, is it nearby? Like, how do I get there? And like, oh, like it's right upstairs. I'm like, oh, of course. Like, no, I didn't know that until they said that. I was like, okay, because how am I supposed to know that it's right upstairs? Guys, I have like a preconceived, like I have like ideas in my head about what shelters are based on not any life experience at that point, like based on what I see in movies, like just from the little experience that I know about homeless shelters. Like, I definitely wasn't expected to be anything like Pacific Arm Mission. I wasn't expected to be that nice, clean, and like orderly, and just like, I wasn't expecting all that. So yeah. So she's like, it's upstairs. So I definitely wasn't expecting there to have like a program where you could just get your life together and all that. I didn't know that was how shelters worked. So when she said that, I was like, great, like, when can I join? So I moved upstairs pretty much right away, like after that conversation, because like, what's the holdup? Like, I'm not going to be doing this my whole life, like sitting here, like watching TV and just like wasting my life away. Like, I still have stuff that I need to take care of for myself. So, yeah, I joined the Bible study program, and right from the start, this was just, I had some issues with this program, guys, because it's okay to like have discipline. It's okay to like have all of this stuff, like, but it's not okay to be like constantly overworked. It's not okay to like, God is a priority. Like, He is. But I'll just get into it. Just like, I just don't like the way that they ran things in the Bible program. But this is the first issue that I ran into. And I almost completely forgot about this. This was the first issue. Now, at this time, it wasn't a phase. I was going through a deep spiritual, like, awakening. I don't know what to call it, but I was deep into my Bible. I was deep into God, my faith at the time, and probably more than any other time since or before then. I was just getting really serious about a lot of things. I was getting serious about my education. I was getting serious about God. I was getting just, I don't want the wind to knock this phone over. But for some reason, I just had like an epiphany at that time in my life. And I was getting serious about a lot of things. Whereas other times in my life, I wasn't. Like, it was just like, I wasn't. Like, things I was doing back then, I just couldn't even imagine myself doing. Like, just lounging around at home and just like not doing anything with my life, and just like, just things that I was doing back then that I wouldn't even think about doing now. Now, there are some things I'm doing now that probably looking back years into the future, I'll be like, Kalia, what are you doing? Excuse me. But right now, we're just going to focus on the past. But we're going to focus on that time in my life. But yeah. Anyways, so I was going through like this spiritual like awakening. Like I said, I don't know what to call it, but I was taking my faith a lot more seriously than I have been. And so I was going through this, like I said, I don't want to call it a phase, because I still do this. Like, back at that time, I was like really immodest. I dressed immodestly. I was doing like a lot of immodest things. Duh, because in my teens and in my teens, like that's just how I was. Now, I wasn't like, a wild girl or anything. I was like, I I won't even say I was wild. I was just doing things like as a teenager. Like, I was a teenager, okay? So like I wasn't like, a perfect angel or anything. Like, even though I mostly, like, I guess I was still innocent at that time, I was just, the way that I dressed, it was anything but innocent. Now, I didn't have like my bits and pieces hanging out all over the place and flashing people all over the street and stuff, but sometimes I would stop traffic with what I was wearing. Like, everything was skin tight, everything was short, like, I didn't really wear makeup, but like everything was flashy, like, like, this is how I dressed back then. Of course, I do not dress that way now, not even close to it, because like I said, as I started, like, as the months and years went on, I was still a teenager at this time. I was like 19, but I just came into, like, I just started changing a lot about myself for the good. And that kind of started with, getting my GED. But as far as like my appearance, I started changing that. So I started dressing like a lot more modestly. That means no more short skirts and tight leggings and like sequins and all this other stuff. Even though I did kind of dress like good back then, but no, just kidding. But I may have dressed good, but I wasn't like modest like I am now. So I was like a lot more modest, and so like I was modest, and I was like just taking that a lot more seriously. I was dressing modestly for God, even though like I didn't like it compared to how I used to dress. Like, I don't know. I did kind of like it because I was kind of getting into like the long dresses and stuff. Like, for some reason that was like kind of appealing to me. And for like some reason, like, this is where some people kind of had like an issue. I don't know if there's just like an issue with like Islam and Muslims at this time. This was like 2015, like I said. Well, I don't know, remember what was going on at this time, because with the way I was dressing, I was getting like some comments and stuff. Like, even my life was threatened one time, but that's another story. Well, it's kind of related. But basically, I was dressing as a Christian. I guess the way I was dressing was kind of resembling the way a Muslim woman would dress, her attire would be. Because I was wearing, like, the whole headscarf. Like, I covered head to toe. Like, I didn't stop at, like, the ankle length dresses. I did like the whole shebang. Like, I wore the headscarf. I was like all wrapped up. And so it's just funny because when people would pass me, like other like Muslims would pass me, they would say like the greeting. I forgot what it was called, but like inshallah, I don't remember what it was called. But they would pass me, they would say like the Muslim greeting. And I was like, oh, like, I'm not Muslim, but God bless you anyways. So like a lot of people mistook me for practicing Islam, even though I was a Christian, because I dressed like super modestly. And even some Christians, like Christian women, they used to cover their head and everything too. But that was just like thousands of years ago. Like, they don't do that now. Christian women still like dress modestly, but they don't like cover from head to toe like they used to, and like I was doing. So like people just mistook me for being Muslim. Anyways, I'm just saying that because to make what happened next make more sense. So I get to the shelter. I'm dressed how I am, like, headscarf, everything, covered from head to toe, right? Pretty much only my face and hands are visible. So I can understand why people, kind of mistook me for being Muslim and everything. But this is a Christian shelter. And so, some people were kind of like, I guess, not okay with that, especially this one woman. Now, I will say her name because I did not like her. Even when I left the shelter, we kind of got on speaking terms. I still just did not like her because of the way she treated me. But we called her Miss Kim. I think that was her name. Her name was Miss Kim. And she was the director of the Bible stud, the Bible program. She was the director. She was at the top. There was any issues, we came to her office. And from the get-go, we did not get along because, okay, I got 30 minutes left to finish the story. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to finish 30 minutes. It might be a part 3. We'll see. We did not get along because she didn't outright say it. I don't know if she was... I don't use the word Islamophobic because, I mean, you shouldn't, mistreat someone based on their religion. But I am, against, against certain things about the religion Islam. I'm definitely against Islamic terrorists. I don't have any problem with saying that at all. Islamic terrorism, I'll say that all day, any day. But because on this channel I do not do political correctness at all. So do not correct me. Do not try to shame me or anything, because no, I do not do that on this channel at all. But I will say it is wrong to just as a Christian, if I were to say, hey, you suck, your God sucks, you were just if I were to start cussing somebody out just because of their religion, that is not okay. It's not okay to treat somebody like crap, but it is okay to call somebody out, if they're worshiping the wrong God, which they are, if they're doing things, if they're oppressing women, if they're committing acts of terrorism because they believe that's what their God and religion says that they should do. Yeah, I'm absolutely going to call that out. I'm not going to do it in a Christian way. I'm not going to do it in a worldly way, but I don't have an issue with that. But anyways, I'm just saying that to say, because she, like I said, I don't know what's out to call it Islamophobic. I don't know, I'm going to say, I'm not sure if she had an issue with Islam or Muslims, or I don't know if she was just discriminatory. I don't know what her issue was, but, and she got other complaints too from some people that I talked to at the shelter. And there was another person too, Miss Bauer. I remember her too. Oh, I don't know. I'm not going to fit all this into a half an hour, but she was the first person I had an issue with at that shelter. I came in with the way I was dressed, and she's pretty much she said off the get-go, oh, you're not supposed to wear this here, is basically what she said. And so I'm oh, well, I don't remember what I said to her. I was basically saying I'm a Christian, this is how I dress, I'm trying to be modest, blah blah blah. And she's oh, well, I don't remember what she said either, but basically our conversation went, it's against, as a Christian shelter, I guess it's against the way that I'm dressed, they don't allow it, blah blah blah. Even though I don't know if that was just what she was saying, or if that's the shelter policy. I don't know, because I don't know the shelter. Don't mind me. When the rules were explained to me, attire, as far as attire was concerned, and pretty much in most shelters, the attire, as far as attire is concerned, is always you can't, be walking around with your butt cheeks out, with your boobs hanging out and all of that stuff. No profanity on your shirts or anything, especially with Christian shelters. They're really strict. It never said anything about didn't say anything about a headscarf. don't think so, because like there were, since that incident between her and me, that conversation, I saw other women walking around with headscarves on. And I don't know if anything was said to them, because they continue to walk around with it. So I don't know if she's had an issue with me for some reason, or like, I don't know. But other women, few other females continue to walk around with headscarves on, whether they were Muslim or whatever the case may be. So yeah, pretty sure it's like, I don't know if Christian organizations are allowed to like do that, because being a Christian, I believe everybody should be welcome into the house of God. I do believe you shouldn't be Muslim and like, trying to worship Allah in the house of God. Like, you should at least be respectful enough to at least, like, if you don't want to worship God, the only God, like, you still shouldn't be disrespectful to God by worshiping like your God, if you see what I'm saying. But you shouldn't turn somebody down because they're a Muslim. So I pretty much felt like she looked at me as like a Muslim woman, the way I was dressed, and she was like, oh no, that doesn't fly here, we're Christian shelter. Like, no. Like, so she basically told me, this was when the issue started, she basically told me that you can't stay in the program if you do not take off the headscarf. I think that was the main issue, was the headscarf, because like I said, I was wearing everything. I was like the long dress and everything. I don't think she said anything about the dress. The thing I remember her saying was the headscarf in particular. And I don't remember if there's any policy against head coverings at this specific shelter. If there was, like I said, there were other people walking around with headscarves, and they could do that. So I'm like, okay, no problem, because I'm not taking this off. Like, I'll just move back downstairs. I'll be an overnight guest again. And this is where I'm like, she's just making it up as she goes along. Like, this has nothing to do with the shelter, and this is all like her feelings or whatever she has against me. And she's like, oh no, like, you can't, once you're out of the program, like, you can't stay as an overnight guest. You can't stay in the shelter at all. Like, you have to leave the shelter. Now, I'm pretty much sure, like, she's just making that up. Like, you're gonna kick out a homeless person. If that's the rules for the program, like, okay. And I didn't even think that was the rule for the program, but okay. But to say, like, I can't no longer be in the shelter, and hello, I'm still homeless, headscarf or not, I'm still homeless. Like, you're gonna kick me out for that reason? Like, but what am I gonna do? Like, she's the director, like, so she's like, yeah. And I do remember, like, I hate saying it, admitting it now, I did start crying in her office, and then her voice, like, kind of got softer, and, like, she's like, I remember her saying, how can we help you? Like, what can we do for you? And, like, why do you think that I'm here? Like, long story short, I eventually took off the headscarf. And to this day, like, I never put the headscarf back on again. Not because of that situation, just because, I don't know, after I, like, because like I said, I was there for 2 years, for entire 2 years, I couldn't wear the headscarf. And so I kind of just grew out of it. I still continue to dress modestly. Like, nobody is going to tell me how to dress. Like, because that was what I was trying to get away from, us. Like, I grew up in, like, a very controlling environment, and that's what I was trying to, get away from, was just the controlling environments. And now I'm in, like, another controlling environment. And I understand, like, schedules, like, structure, discipline. I understand all of that. And that was what kind of drew me to the program to begin with. Like, I'm like, wow, like, when they started telling me, like, the rules of the program and all the structure, I'm like, wow, like, I'm in heaven pretty much, because this is all how I envisioned my life after I moved out of my home. Like, all the structure and stuff, like, this is for me. But not in a controlling way. Being controlling and being structured and disciplined, all that's completely different. Like, but yeah. So, never put on the headscarf back on again. Like, that's not a sin or anything. Like, as you can see, I still dress modestly. Dressing immodestly is a sin very much, but not wearing a headscarf, that's not a sin. Like, I believe that's personal preference. If you do, like, that's really good. Like, you know, the more you want to have covered up, I guess, but that's like personal preference, I believe. Just as long as, you know, you're covering all the important bits. That's what matters most. But, so for unrelated reasons, I never wore the headscarf again after the Pacific Army mission. But while I was there, I did eventually take off the headscarf. And I was allowed to stay in the Bible program. I did want to stay because, you know, still trying to get things taken care of. And that was like really hard for me to do. It was really hard for me to just swallow my pride and take off the headscarf. And I did that. So let me skip ahead. Me and her continued not to get along. We didn't speak. So yeah, you know, time went on, and since this did happen, like, you know, 10 years ago, guys, and I was there for 2 years, I don't remember, like, I may not be going in order. I'm trying to tell things as I remember them. So let me start with kind of the good. Let me start with, as soon as Mr. Motorcycle finishes, you know, showing off. I was told in Florida people drive really crazy here. Like, I was told that there is like a high amounts of like road rage and like people driving like super fast and everything. Like, but yeah, there's like been a lot of NASCAR activity here. No, I'm just kidding. Not like NASCAR activity, but it's just noisy in this area. Anyways, so what was I saying? I haven't also been able to successfully distract myself from my full bladder, but now, like, I kind of just reminded myself, so I shouldn't have said that. So let me get back to the story so I can distract myself again. By the way, we have almost 15 minutes to finish, and I'm not going to finish the story in 15 minutes. So let me try to get into, like, the good parts, and then I'll get into the bad moments. The good moments, I did meet a bunch of guys. At the time, and I still do say this, regardless of what I went through with staff and everything and other people there, I really considered that first shelter my second family. I got like really close, like really, really close to a lot of people there. Oh, guys, look at this. Look who decided to make an entrance. You want to say hi to my video, Mr. Caterpillar? This is the second time I've seen like this caterpillar. I saw one on my luggage. This is so cute. So I'm just going to let Mr. Caterpillar hang out. Well, probably not, because that's kind of distracting, and I don't want... Yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe I should just, like, brush it off. But, it's Mr. Caterpillar. He's kind of shy, guys. He doesn't want to say hi, but, let me just, like, get Mr. Caterpillar off. Just 1 second. Okay. Mr. Caterpillar's gone. But, that was, what was I just saying? Guys, it's just distracting me. Now we're wasting even more time. Mr. Caterpillar's just distracting me. Sorry, guys. But he had to go because I didn't want him to eventually, like, crawl up on me. I'm just... I didn't even know it was there. Like, I don't even know how it got. Anyways. So I considered Pacific Garden Mission my second family, my second home. Because in a way it kind of was. After I left my first home, my immediate home, like, they really were literally my second home. But I use the word home loosely because at the end of the day, they are a shelter. A shelter, and that's it. But I, like, at that time, and the way I was treated there for the most part by most of everybody, I consider it my second family, my second home. And still to this day, I kind of still do have those same feelings. Sometimes, like, even now I'm kind of feeling it. I do sometimes get emotional when I talk about those times, in a good way, because, like, when I visit those areas, like, years after I have left that place and I go back to that area, and I just look for some of the hangout spots I used to go to, and I kind of was like, oh, I used to go here with this person. Like, I remember, like, the theater. And there used to be, like, this big, like, well, I'll get into that. Like, there was some good times there. Like I said, there was a Dunkin' Donuts, since I didn't have a lot of money. And I'll get into some tips, too, what I was doing during that time. I saved, like, several $1,000s while I was homeless. If that seems impressive, like, I mean, it is. Like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to do a part 3. I don't care, like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna do it today or later today, but I'm gonna do a part 3 to this. But the part 3 might be it. But yeah, like, there's this good and bad with any shelter. I learned a lot from it. I met people from all walks of life. I remember there was this one woman. And guys, when the testimonies that you hear from these people, they're 100% real and raw testimonies. There is no faking what these people went through, how their lives completely transformed from what they used to be, to what they are now, including me. Like, I felt like I did, like, a whole 180 when I left out of that shelter. Like, I always say that I did not leave that shelter the same way I came in, and for a good, like, in a good way. Like, it was, and a lot of other people, like, they went through a lot worse than me. Like, there was one person, I kind of want to share her name. We got really close. I won't share her name though, but she was a former gang member. And she just completely turned her life around. We did get close through those 2 years. When I left, I got her contact information, Facebook and everything. We did drift apart. We ended up drifting apart, unfortunately. As you know, relationships do. But, since then I have never met so many people from different walks of life, and just so many, like, good people. Like, no matter what they've been through, there's a lot of good people that I met at that shelter, and I learned a lot from them, and just a lot from the experience overall. I would say overall, I didn't want to be there. Yes, like, I shouldn't. As to whether I should or should not have been there, if God, I believe everything happens for a reason. There's a purpose to everything. I think there definitely was a purpose. There was a reason that I was at this shelter. I think there was a purpose too. I believe as much as people impacted me there, I impacted other people's life there. And I was getting like long after I moved, like, Facebook messages from, hey, I remember you, like, you really changed my life. And just from hearing that, just from people who are just like so much older than me, and who've just been through a lot more than me, and who just like been homeless for more time than just hearing. It's like really humbling to hear that from people, because they definitely like made an impact on my life, but just to hear that I made an impact on somebody else's life, it's just like very humbling to hear that. So, but I won't lie, like, at all. I just had so many good times at that shelter. We went on like a lot of trips there too. There was one time we went, I think I have some pictures. We went to this and I think it was out of Chicago too, but we went to this really nice beach. I cannot for the life of me remember this because it was so long ago, but we went to this, what was the name of this beach? It was like a field trip, kind of like a field trip, kind of. They sometimes take people on trips. But I had a good time at that trip. Like, I probably have some pictures, but I had a good time. And again, like, we couldn't, there's like a dress code, not just in the shelter, but we go as a group. Like, there's no bathing suits or anything. So, not that I wore it. Like, forget the dress code. Like, I had my own dress code. I follow my own dress code. Like, they didn't. That's the thing that I liked about this program. One of the things that I liked, even though they just went overboard sometimes, I like that they enforced some things. They instilled some things that I had already instilled in myself, and that had already had values that were already instilled into me growing up. They just reinforced that. And like the lifestyle that I was already living, they just reinforced that. So I like that about Pacific Guard Mission. I'll give them that. Like, so, I just have pictures of me at this beach, like in the sand, in my like long pink skirt or dress actually. And I wore like a t-shirt, like we didn't have to be like in sweaters or anything, but just couldn't wear bathing suits, couldn't wear one piece, two piece, whatever. So, and I had my black sun hat on, and I had pictures of me just eating watermelon, just making goofy faces with people. I did make a lot of friends there, and I guess that's just surprising because I made more friends at this homeless shelter than I did before or since then at any other time in my life, at school, at college, at jobs, at any other point in time in my life. I had never met so many people or felt so connected to people or made so many genuine friendships that I did at this shelter. So, yeah, it was, I could probably go into like separate story times, like all these situations I've been in at this shelter, they probably could have their own separate story times, but, yeah, it was just a lot of good times, a lot of good things happening. I remember when I went to my first like outdoor barbecue for 4th of July. That was a super awesome time. Even as a vegetarian, they did accommodate me. I ate like a lot of watermelon. We had like a lot of there was a lot of stuff to eat that wasn't me. Like, I definitely left, like, I went up to my bed as soon as after that, and I crashed after that because it just had like a lot of good food. And I had seconds, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. That was a good time too. And I had a good time, like, serving everybody. I think I was on the clock while I was doing that. So I'm about to end the video here, guys. On the next part, I'm going to get into what the actual program was like. Should have gotten to that with this video, but we'll get into that in the third part. I'm kind of like tiring myself, like talking. Maybe that's because that's my cue to eat something. I don't know what time it is. Like, it's still morning time, but probably like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. I don't know, but I've been yapping for a couple hours, but I'm kind of enjoying the story time. But in the next part, probably let this be the final part, I will go into the actual Bible program, because it was quite an interesting experience. I mean, the whole thing was quite an interesting experience, but Bible program was something else. So I will get into that in the next part 3. Bye.